Hi there, I am Laina, and this is the third of the messages that I am being given to share with you to remind you that we are the light of the world. Right now, the world is in the midst of so much insanity. And the only reason there is so much insanity is because we have allowed our minds to be corrupted with untruths. We have bought into the story of separation. That which was created one with God, all of us are made of the same one energy, cannot be separated. But our mind has been instructed to believe that because we have separate bodies, we are not one. We have been instructed to believe different ideas about God to further separate us. We have been instructed in believing so many things that activate the idea of separation, that the mind has been corrupted for thousands of years, when all that is required, as the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago, that if you pay attention to what is in your mind, you can clear yourself of all of the things that cause our suffering. And kindness, mindfulness, kindness towards one another corrects that. Then Jesus came along 20 or 2,000 years ago and reminded us that if we learn to love God, if we learn to activate faith in God, not the God that the church tells us about, because he came to let us know that all those rules that the church made were not really capturing the essence of the message that God wanted us to know, which was learn to love God because God is loving, and then share that love with your neighbor because it's in yourself. So something so simple that has been passed down for thousands of years, that message has not made it to us because there have been many who have shifted that message, changed that message, corrupted that message, and made sure that we didn't understand that message. But we are waking up and we're realizing, as Martin Luther King Jr. told us about 50 years ago, that love is the only way. We cannot eradicate darkness with anything but light. We cannot get rid of hate with anything but love. And that we have to extend to our brothers and sisters, but we can't do that until we find it in ourselves. So this series that I have been guided to share is about reminding you not only that the light is in you, but to give you as much information as possible in bite size, so that you can begin to question possibly where are you on your journey. Many of us who are spiritual people, we have gone on this path of seeking the light, but most spiritual people, I know I've been one of those, end up doing something that causes us to avoid the light. We begin to deny the light. Avoid the darkness. We begin to deny that the darkness doesn't exist. Yes, a lot of us do some work in our own personal journey to heal some of our wounds, but we stop short once we do a lot of our own inner healing, and we don't want to look at the darkness out there. For that specifically, the brilliant light worker Debbie Ford wrote a book, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. Here she teaches, and I'm going to teach another class on this book. Here she teaches that everyone who is chasing the light has a dark side that we have to look at, because we've got to bring the light into the darkness. So what I am going to be reading with you from A Course in Miracles, and I'm using the third edition, and this is on page 378 in the text. The title of this particular section in chapter 8 is called Light in the Dream. So the dream is where we believe we're separate from God, from one another. This world is basically where we are living out this dream of separation. So this is going to be a little longer of a reading, but I will simplify it after I've read the entire section. Not the entire section here, but I'm going to read a lot from this section that is going to basically give you about 60% of this section. So you who have spent your life in bringing truth to illusion, reality to fantasy, have walked the way of dreams. For you have gone from waking to sleeping and on to a yet deeper sleep. Each dream has led to other dreams, and every fantasy that seemed to bring a light into the darkness but made the darkness deeper. Your goal was darkness in which no ray of light could enter, and you sought a blackness so complete that you could hide from truth forever in complete insanity. What you forgot was simply that God cannot destroy himself. The light is in you. Darkness can cover it, but cannot put it out. So when it says in here that we have sought to basically go into complete darkness, that's because we have agreed to believe things that are absolutely in complete opposition to the truth of who we are. We have agreed to the insanity of wars and killing one another in the name of protection. Well, if we have to protect ourselves, we then believe that there is another that can attack us, another that can hurt us, and that other has power to make us somehow lose our power. So when we don't stop to question the insanity of needing to protect ourselves from a brother or a sister, when we don't question those leaders who tell us that we should attack others, when we are convinced that wars are okay and we buy into that, we fall into a deeper illusion of separation from the truth of who we are. However, we cannot destroy God. God is light. Light is what we're made of. So no matter what happens to these physical bodies, the light that we are, the essence, the soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it, that is eternal, goes on forever. And we'll keep reincarnating, and we keep reincarnating into the same madness, because until this world is cleaned up, all the new ones that come into the same insanity. So we can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. So the Course in Miracles wants us to renew our mind. So no matter what we attempt to do on this planet to cover up the light, all we can do is put a cover on it. We cannot extinguish the light, but we can make ourselves pretty miserable when in the midst of all of this insanity, all of this pain and suffering, we don't turn on our own light. And that, another word for light is love. Kindness, mindfulness, as the Buddha taught. So the next section says, as the light comes nearer, you will rush to darkness, shrinking from the truth, sometimes retreating to the lesser forms of fear and sometimes to stark terror. So recently, the last couple hundred years, when people speak truth, when people come in and shine the light on what is happening, we vilify those people because they scare us. They come in telling us some pretty drastic, different people. We have had, hey, Martin Luther King Jr. came to tell us that we are all equal, and what did we do? We shot him. Why? Because he scared the crap out of people who did not want to give up that level of power that maintained us in separation. So it does create terror in the heart of those and in the mind of those who cannot accept the truth of our oneness. But you will advance because your goal is the advance from fear to truth. All of us in our heart, deep down inside, we want to be freed from this insanity. The goal you accepted is the goal of knowledge, for which you signified your willingness. So every single time we get curious, we are saying we want to understand, we want to know more. Fear seems to live in darkness, and when you are afraid, you have stepped back. We basically retreat. We're saying, oh my God, I'm afraid. Every single time fear shows up in our lives and we back off, for example, with all this stuff that's going on with COVID, oh, let's get away from all of this. We are saying this fear has power over us. So let me read this again. Fear seems to live in darkness, and when you are afraid, you have stepped back. Let us then join quickly in an instant of light, and it will be enough to remind you that your goal is light. So if our goal is light, our work is to get the knowledge that helps us move forward. That's why, as one of my friends says, we've got to go towards the roar. We need to move towards what scares us. We have to face it head on, not retreat and hope somebody will save us. The next section says, truth has rushed to meet you since you called upon it. Ever since we have a desire for truth, it comes toward us. But the light scares us because we're not used to its brightness, which is what has happened. I mean, I could give you a long list of people who have come in to give us the truth, and we end up shooting them. We end up killing them. We end up putting them in jail. We end up getting rid of them. That's called censorship. That is what happens to those who bring truth that those who know that is truth don't want us to hear, because those who hear the truth, two things happen. They either move towards it, they go towards the roar, or they retreat and want somebody else to extinguish that light because it scares them. It's too much for their eyes who have been in darkness. So if you knew who walks beside you on the way that you have chosen, fear would be impossible. If you knew the power of God is inside of you, you would not be afraid of COVID. You would not be afraid of anything. You would not live your life in fear. But we have not been trained in finding that faith inside of us, because most of us have been taught that God's outside of us. Again, the game of separation, the teachings that have been telling us for thousands of years that our power is external and not inside of us. So how do we awaken from this dream? Is we have to wake up the light that is inside of us. We have to wake up the truth and knowledge that is within. So let me keep reading. So you do not know the truth, because the journey into darkness has been long and cruel, and you have gone deep into it. Yes, for thousands of years we have accepted horrendous things as okay. We accept that children are dying around the world. We accept that there is human trafficking going on, and we go about our merry lives. I know I have. I send some money to alleviate that, but I'm not actively in the forefront doing something about it. However, I'm not afraid to face it. I'm not afraid to talk about it. And that may very well be just the best that I can do right now. But there are horrendous things going on in the world right now that the light chasers do not want to face. But you cannot claim your light if there's anything you're not willing to shine your light on, to get rid of that darkness. Because when we turn our light on anything that is dark, the dark disappears. Dark is not a source. It is a block to the source, which is the light. So you do not know truth, because the journey into darkness has been long and cruel, and you have gone deep into it. When you retreat to the illusion, your fear increases. For there is little doubt that what you think it means is fearful. Let me read this again. When you retreat to the illusion, your fear increases, for there is little doubt that what you think it means is fearful. So every single time that we are told of a terrible person, a murderer, look what has happened. We've been told that there's this horrible president that is out there to create so much chaos that we want to impeach him again. Well, are we facing that? Are we willing to face it and look at the facts in a real clear way? Or are we siding with the ones that are attacking that and retreating from seeing the truth of our brother, bringing the light of truth into what is happening here? More separation is being activated. And when we take one side or the other, we actually keep the insanity going, which means we are complicit in participating in darkness, because every one of us has light. We have to call the light forward. But we can't call the light forward in another until we have faced the darkness that we judge about them within ourselves. The dark side of the light chasers, everybody who claims to be spiritual but is judging another as not spiritual enough, has darkness that they have to look at. And that's what this is saying to us. Let me continue reading here. So be tempted not to snatch away the gift of faith. This is a gift. This gift is given forever, for God himself received it. God is the essence of light, the essence of eternalness, of truth, of goodness. So when we accept having faith in God, is because we know that God is the source of all of that. But when we begin to rely on our other people on this planet to tell us who's good, who's bad, who should be judged, who shouldn't be judged, then we are not having faith in the one internally that actually knows. And what is that one going to tell us? To become mindful, to become kind, as the Buddha taught, to recognize that God is inside of us, as Jesus taught, and then begin to love our neighbors as ourselves. Why? Because we're all one energy. We share one light. It cannot be otherwise. Well, yeah, we can block it, but that doesn't mean that it is not there. It just means that we are not experiencing it because we're choosing to focus on the darkness and not on the light. We are chasing the light out there somewhere, not owning the light that is inside of us that would dissipate all darkness. So let me keep reading just a little bit more. So I stand with you. This is Jesus talking. I stand with you and walk with you in your advance to truth. And where we go, we carry God with us. This is why we're two or more gathered, there is love. This is why Jesus told us we've got to learn to love ourselves only once we get to know that God is in us so that we can love our neighbor. We are the ones who have to bring the light to Washington. We can't expect Washington to turn on its own light. And when we are judging this side or that side, we are contributing to putting darkness on the side that we judge, because we are not bringing our light, which is the one that begins the process of kindness, of forgiveness, of really looking at the truth. But I'll tell you, every single person that judges another is one that's coming from fear. Judgment says, let's get rid of that person because I can't handle facing what it is that I think that they've done wrong. I'd rather you deal with them and get rid of them so that I don't have to. Again, the light chasers, those who want to be spiritual and all, connected to source and only goodness, have a dark side. Again, I know mine because I was very spiritual and I was teaching a lot of spiritual things, but I was judging from my spiritual pedestal. I was judging others. And that judgment, when I finally decided to look at what it was telling me about me, when we are willing to look at our judgment, that's when we turn on our light. Because when we're blaming over there and want that to be corrected, we are perpetuating the darkness that keeps the separation going. So this is again Jesus saying, I stand with you and walk with you in your advance to truth. And where we go, we carry God with us. You have been willing to bring the darkness to light. And this willingness has given strength to everyone who would remain in darkness. Those who would see will see, and they will join with me in carrying the light into the darkness. When the darkness in them is offered to the light and is removed forever, we have to give our darkness to the light. We have to be willing to look at every judgmental, every mean-spirited thought that we have, every bit of revenge, every bit of fear. If we don't look at our fears, especially those of us who say that we create our reality and we live inside of fear, be it of COVID, be it of somebody not wearing a mask, be it of a former president, in fear of not getting our Social Security, in fear that our neighbor may break into our house. When we accept fear and we teach that we create our own reality, that fear keeps that reality active in us. That fear is a block to the truth. The truth is that there is a power inside of us that we need to bring forth and begin to face all of the things that are dark, that are not okay. We want somebody else to deal with the bad prisoners. Are we doing something about finding out how did these people get to the place of ending up in jail? We have got to get curious about a system that perpetuates things that are not natural. We're all holy children of God. Every one of us is a bringer of love and light. If we are each the bringer of love and light, because every one of us has God inside of us, how does anybody get to the point of that kind of darkness? It's simple. Somebody didn't teach them that they were the light. This is why we've got to be the bringers of love and light to the planet. We are the light of the world. So the Course is attempting to teach us that we have to be willing to look at everything that is dark and reminded that the light is in there. But we can't remind a dark person, somebody who is in darkness, who has descended into the frequency of hate, of judgment, of lying, of cheating. We can't see the light in them if we judge them, because the judgment is a block to the light in us. That's a difficult concept to get, but we must get that concept. So let me just read a little bit more here. So you who are now the bringer of salvation have the function of bringing light to darkness. The darkness in you has been brought to light when you're willing to face it, when you're no longer avoiding the dark side that is in you while you're busy chasing the light. So carry it back to darkness. Carry it back to darkness. This light that we have inside of us. We are made whole in our desire to make whole until we see the wholeness in another. We cannot experience the wholeness in us because our judgment of another is a direct representation of what inside of us we feel is broken. Let not time worry you. Time has been readjusted to help us do together what your separate paths would hinder. You have gone past fear, for no two minds can join in the desire for love without love joining them. When we are willing to look at the brother or sister that we're judging, at the very least, find out, what do people who like them think about them? Until we're willing to see the light in another, our darkness is what is focusing on their darkness. Because for me not to see the light in you, I literally have to put something dark in me to block it. My light could only see light. My darkness is what sees darkness. The dark side of those who are chasing the light is what we now need to face. This is a very difficult part of the journey because it requires an incredible amount of honesty. If we want to be part of what helps this planet ascend into the light, and it is moving into the fifth dimension, we are splitting. There are two groups that are getting created. I'm watching this happen. I'm watching my friends, my acquaintances, the groups are separating more and more and more. The fearful ones are moving to this side, and they want to keep away from those, potential bad people over there. They're going to get them infected, or going to get something bad happen to them, or who are talking crazy stuff like conspiracy theories because we're becoming curious. We want to look for the light. It's separating. The groups are separating. There is a division that is taking place to highlight what is light and what is darkness. And anybody who is carrying fear and judgment is going to find themselves on the side of darkness. It has to be, because it's a vibrational thing. Frequencies are shifting. Only those who are willing to be open and compassionate and kind and willing to look at what's in them, their darkness, because they're ready to give up the judgmental game, are going to ascend to this new earth that is being created. And those who are in fear, who fear they're going to catch something, who fear somebody's going to get them something, are not going to be able to find their light, because they are going to be totally and completely deluded in this illusion of separation, because they are going to not want to be with those people that they are afraid of. And those who are not afraid, well, we're just going to have compassion for those who are afraid, because we can't wake up somebody who does not want to wake up. This is something that you have to be willing to do. I'll read the very last bit in here. When such great lights have joined with you to give the little spark of your desire the power of God Himself, can you remain in darkness? I'm sharing with you what I know. But unless you're curious about it, you're not going to receive all that's possible for you. And I'm sure some people are listening to this saying, what the hell is she talking about? She's gone crazy. That's okay. I still love somebody who doesn't understand this, because I was in that place of not understanding, thinking that people that talk like me were crazy. Well, my mind wasn't prepared to receive how powerful I am. I was still looking for somebody to protect me, for somebody to keep me safe, for somebody to have, military to protect me, for somebody to give me medicine to make me better, for somebody to give me education to make me smart. I didn't realize that God was inside of me, and I needed to wake up and activate that power, that knowledge in me. Now that I have it in me, well, I'm not afraid of what's outside of me. But I can't convince anybody to believe that about themselves until such time that they're ready to ask. Many have been activated into questioning the truth of what's happening. Many are waking up and seeing through the illusion, which is why the groups are separating so much. Before, when lots of us were in different various levels of the illusion, we were all mixed in. But as some get clearer and more into the light and some remain in the darkness, well, those frequencies are becoming more and more difficult to reconcile. So this is very interesting. So you and your brother are coming home together after a long and meaningless journey that you undertook apart and that led nowhere. This planet basically has gone nowhere. We've gone backwards in many ways. We've gone backwards. There are more people that are sick and dying and hungry. Look at what's happened to the economy that has devastated families. Yes, we've had a virus. But if we really look at what's going on with the virus, we would see that we've been given a lot of misinformation. That virus is actually quite curable with existing medication. And that stuff is coming into the light. The light is getting brighter. Curiosity is activating a lot of information that is coming to the surface. And if we're not willing to question it or to look at it without defensiveness, we're not going to know the truth. We're not going to know the truth. So you have found your brother, and you will light each other's way. And from this light will the great rays extend back into darkness and forward unto God, to shine away the past and so make room for his eternal presence, in which everything is radiant in the light. Just touches me so much. My life has been transformed when I began to love everybody. When I began to see the good in everybody. When I began to look for the truth. Everybody that gets judged, I go look at. Why are they judging them? Because I know judgment is a reflection of the one judging, not the one that is being judged. And when I began to then look at all of my judgments, I began to see things about me that were like, wow, oh my gosh, I was so arrogant. So arrogant. I was so high and mighty on my spiritual pedestal. I had a dark side while I was a light chaser. What changes that is a willingness to do the work as taught in the Course in Miracles, to break down the insanity that is in our mind. And if you believe you create your own reality and you believe in fear, you are perpetuating the illusion that you're not powerful while you tell yourself the truth that you create your own reality. That conflict in your own mind is what causes the insanity that keeps people in this state of this hamster wheel. It requires an incredible amount of honesty. One of the characteristics of one who lives as a Christ on this planet, according to the Course in Miracles, an incredible amount of honesty to see, is my walk and my talk congruent? If I create my own reality, why am I not creating a reality that sees and upholds the truth of everybody's light? We need more brothers and sisters calling everyone into their light. But you can't come into the light until your darkness doesn't scare you anymore. And your darkness won't scare you when the darkness of others ceases to have power over you. Thank you so much. And if you enjoy this message, go to lainaorlando.com, sign up for my newsletter, receive a free e-course that I have called The Soul's Journey. It explains how we fall into the delusion of separation and what we need to do to wake up and come back into the light. Also, my YouTube channel, if you like this message, please subscribe to receive. I'm going to do these messages as often as I possibly can, as I'm guided to do them. Check the notification button so that you will be notified about that. Friend me on Facebook, social media. I want to help you know the truth of who you are. Wednesdays, I'm offering a free workshop. Look for that in all of the information that I put out. At 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you have to register to get the Zoom notification, because I want to help you face your darkness in a really, healthy way, so that you can own your light. Okay, it is our darkness that blocks our light. And what is darkness? Misinformation. It's all that it is. Our mind has been filled with things that are not true, starting with that we're separate from one another or separate from God. Love you all, my magnificent brothers and friends and sisters. We are the light of the world. God bless you.